Okay, so my idea is basically that you can have something called labour-centred development. And why is it called labour-centred development? Because most development studies is conceived of as a process of state managers and bureaucrats, business people, doing development for the masses. So you have the few elite doing it for them. And this is a very big problem, because when you look at examples of this, for example South Korea, which is the best example of late development, and also China today, you see indeed this process. You see a huge amount of growth, industrial diversification, everything in all the development indicators. You see great progress. The only problem is that it's been done by minority, not for the majority, but for the augmentation of state power and economic power, and it's been based on the exploitation of the mass of the population. If you look at South Korea and China, you see the working classes there being exploited, 10, 15-hour working days, intense gender division of labour, poverty pay, extreme coercion of trade unions, illegalisation of trade unions, and so on. And so the mainstream conception of development is intensely elitist, and it's actually based on a total paradox, which is that the few do it for the many through exploiting and oppressing the many. It doesn't make sense if you think about it. My alternative is labour-centred development, where you look at labouring class struggles, like for example the landless labourers movement in Brazil, or the huge struggles taking place in China today, or the Arab Spring, or any of the left movements in Brazil, and you ask yourself the question, to what extent are these struggles creating real developmental gains in the here and now for the participants in those struggles? So to what extent are the MST, the landless labourers workers movements, creating space for land, access and ability for people to create their own food? To what extent are the struggles in China improving wages, enabling some kind of trade union representation, and so on? So that's basically the idea of labour-centred development. It's against capital-centred development, it's against state-centred development, it's the majority for the majority, it completely dismisses the elite conceptions of development, and it's of course not thought about and not conceived within the development industry, because development industry is so elitist. But you can have real development from below, and this idea comes from Amartya Sen's idea that development should be about expanding the freedoms of the many. The problem is Amartya Sen links this to markets and states and capitalist social relations, which are exploitative social relations, and I'm saying you have to look at actual struggles against those relations and how those can be overturned in the future. So that's my conception of labour-centred development, and I hope you like it, and I hope you can read my articles on the subject, and I'm writing a book now called Capitalism versus Development, so you'll be able to read about it in about a year and a half's time. Thanks.